Alright, big welcome to you all to our channel. We are crushing the meta.
Hey guys.
Today we're with Glacian. So we are starting a series of deck profiles for you guys for the Bushido Championship series, and you guys chose to see Narukami and Genesis from Glacian's, let's say, collection of decks. We're starting with the one that won us a medallion. That was the one in France.
Yeah.
So would you like to talk a little bit about the tournament?
Going into the tournament, I was really stressed and tense. It was my first time playing with in a team with D-Boy and Marta. And I was told that I had to live up to expectations. I think I did pretty well.
You were a bad leader.
I was a horrible leader at the first matches. I got wrong tables and
3 times.
wrong enemies. I was really stressed.
But you played well.
Yeah, I ended up going 6-2. Only losing the second round and the semi-finals.
Actually, the matches you lost were the matches that the team lost.
Yeah.
Because Martin or Singh didn't really do that well. Actually, he was really unlucky with the matchups, and as always. And I pretty much won most of them. So the matches that Glacian lost were actually the matches that we lost as a team. And you guys wanted to see the WiseMan loop. In that tournament, we had 2 WiseMan loops.
Yeah.
Another great player. Do you remember?
Shout out to my friend Idris. Well played, man. And was nice meeting you. Looking forward to playing again. Next time I will try to beat you.
There was actually a mirror match that we had in the top 4. I had to play against Giese, Martin had to play against Tame, if I'm not mistaken, or Bermuda, I don't remember exactly. And Glacian had to play with WiseMan against WiseMan, which was a different build actually.
Yes, he had a more traditional version of the build. Did run the new starter, which I found interesting. I understand the choice. It's not a bad pick. I still just prefer the guaranteed stand trigger in your soul. Starting tarot is for me still the way to go. But I could see why he liked it. And he opted into mostly the old style. Yeah, his deck build is just the consistent version and works the most. I gambled with a slightly newer version. He did tell me the other day that I met him, he picked up some things that I put in there and adapted it a bit. So yeah, in my opinion, it still works. And I will explain to you what and how exactly.
Right. So this is the top 4 playmat.
Yeah.
So we got that. And we don't have the medallion actually with us, which was pretty cool because we ended up being 3rd on that tournament. We lost 1 match in the Swiss, which was our 2nd, and then we lost the semi-finals. Yeah. But we'll talk about the matchups later. Let's go through the deck. We will not be explaining the card skills.
No.
We'll be more talking about why do we have 3 of this or 3 of that. And if you guys really want to know the skills or want to know more, then you could comment and we'll try to...
I'll do a little bit of skill maybe on the newer cards, but they're V and they're quick.
I think maybe even the other way around, because most people already know the newer cards and less of the older cards.
Right, we'll start off with the grade 3 lineup. So we have 3 Fenrir.
3 of the original Fenrir. Yeah, you had this space, so that's cool.
Right. There we go. 3 of Himiko, which is one of the new twists that I really like. And of course, 4 of the real main grade 3. Not a right target, but the most important card in the deck.
Yeah, really not.
No, really not. The WiseMan. Okay, so logic behind this is really simple. This is your winning condition, so you want it. Get 4, so you can always call 1. Simple as that.
Yo!
Next up, we have Fenrir. He's there for the same reason he has always been there, because he's a really good right target. His on strike skill helps you turbocharge your soul. And I guess is ready to do our things. Next up, the new one is Himiko, and Himiko is there because if you manage to strike or G-guard once, then be on Himiko, activate her skill on a WiseMan with some Taros in your soul, you win the game, guaranteed. WiseMan will be about 50k on his own without other power-ups, and he will attack, well, maybe not as much, depending on how well you went. With 5-6 attacks with 4 crits, 60k, there's hardly any chance that an opponent survives that. So that's why we run Himiko. And of course, there's my beautiful strike card.
Through the tournament, playing the 4 WiseMan, did you think that was too much? Not really, right?
No. There's no reason not to play 4. Even if you have to write him, it's not that good. You don't want to.
No.
But you can just rewrite and call him out of the soul if needed.
Or you could always try it and then use the soul to make like a stronger WiseMan.
Exactly. There's no reason not to run 4. The thing is that if you run 4 of any of these and 3 of him, yeah, okay, you'll have the guaranteed better Vanguard, but if you don't have the rear guard,
I can still play 6 on 4, so that's okay. I mean, riding her or riding Fenrir, it's both of them is good.
Yeah.
Are there any matchups that you would rather go to Himiko than Fenrir? Like when some decks you want to keep your opponent on low damage, then it's good to go to Himiko,
Link
like
Joker.
against Link Joker, Gize decks maybe, to kill them in one attack.
Link Joker, I'd rather not rely on the rear guards, and the best thing I can do is use Himiko's skill to brute force the enemy down, hope they can't guard it, give early crits away, and just beat them down. But yeah, other than that, you just want to ride Himiko as a finisher mostly. You can early ride her for the first force marker, and then rewrite and stride, and then rewrite again. I've done that in the tournament. Yeah, there's no real reason to up her or down her.
I think with the Force 2, then it could be different, because having the combination of Force 2 and a Stride could be very good. So Himiko will be even more effective as she is right now.
Definitely. If with the new support coming up, riding Himiko and then striding into the new Emeruda is amazing, because then you can get a force marker, an extra crit. You use the new aura skill. She soul charges a ton, and then you have a WiseMan that's on a force marker that gives him a crit, and he gets extra power, and he gets another crit from Himiko, from Artemis. So that's still 3k. So that's a fixer. That's an emergency fix.
Right. Let's go to the Grade 2s.
All right. Grade 2 lineup. So a lot of newer Grade 2s. Like a lot of the old ones got replaced. Grade 2s was always Genesis's Genesis's weak part. They didn't really have any stellar Grade 2s, and with V we got some really good ones. For those who don't know, this is the Witch, Witch Grappa. She's a right target mostly. If you don't
And
ride
that's
her,
it. That's everything she does. She's right target.
she's a right target, and she soul charges and soul blast. Period.
She's one of the secrets why the deck is really so good, and you could make the loop.
Yeah. Without her and her little sister, the loop does not exist. All right, so we have here the newer cards. This one just added a whole new level of draw power and the much missed hand manipulation. Like if you drew a card in Genesis, it's stuck in your hand. You needed to get it on the field, into the drop zone, into the soul. She cuts out like 2 steps and lets you put needed cards into the soul, which is amazing. And she refreshes your hand with a draw 2. He does the same. Well, not really. He attacks, goes into the soul, lets you soul charge. So these 2 soul plus, and they draw. And that's all you want from Grade 2s from Genesis.
This is pretty much almost every clan got that Grade 2 that is good as a right target and good as a rear guard. With her, it's different. She's actually very good because she also only have a rear guard skill. But as Glacian said, she does help out to get the right cards to your hand and to get the right cards out of your hand. Because WiseMan is not really a defensive deck. If you already have the combo, then it goes off and your opponent is dead. If they don't have the Nala Griffin or Hate Round or something that could get rid of your field. With him, that's a very, very, very good card because it does put pressure. Remember, this is force. So having crits you could put on him, attack with the Vanguard first, then him, that's good. and then he goes away.
Exactly.
Which is good.
Even if your opponent gets a defensive trigger and he doesn't hit, it doesn't matter because that's not what he's there.
You want him gone.
He will attack and he goes. It's just really good that he puts himself into the soul with another card and then refreshes himself in your hand. And he gets a little bit of early aggression, especially with this build. You want your opponent at 2 damage, not more, not less. So he's the only one that always goes for the Vanguard. You actually try to attack with your Vanguard or Rearguard if possible, because you don't want to do too much damage, especially against decks that just need 3 counter blasts to go off. But yeah, he's a really important card for that.
Alright, great ones.
Great ones. Alright. First we have a 1-off.
This is a
2-off.
troll card, but at the same time a very good card. The reason why she is in here is also to get rid of the gray elementals that could stick on the field. That's, you know guys, that could let you attack less. So sometimes your opponent has a formation and you're thinking like, I don't like that formation, a new one please. And that's when she's very good at. But my question to you, Glazin, is one enough? Or were there moments in the tournament where you thought, well, you didn't really face decks that played the Crane Elemental actually?
I didn't get to face any of the Crane Elementals. I had her often enough in the hand. The question is, I don't think she warrants more copies. I don't think it's needed, but I also don't know if she's really needed to stay at 1.
Okay.
I prefer to keep her at 1 though, for now. The skill is still pretty useful. It could really help in a pinch. And she has the witch name, which is also very nice for the deck.
Okay.
So,
But pretty much what you really want into in the deck is keep the PG in, because she does help out with the 10k skill. And at the same time, you don't really want to play draw PGs in this deck.
no.
Keep him at 4, of course, and then her 3 or 4 copies is good. You don't really want to put her 2, because with 7 witches being the soul chargers, it's good because they help out with getting the right amount of soul charging to make the loop. Then you have the 3 options.
Yes.
All 3 are witches.
Yes.
What do you prefer? Would you do it like 3-3? Would you want to change the deck to 4-2, or would you like to keep it the way it is?
I think I'm gonna keep it the way it is. If I would change, it would be 4-2, just for the extra witch. I don't think it's needed, and I think that the possible utility that this offers, yeah, it's situational, and yeah, it's not consistent, but that one moment where it actually helps out will happen, and I don't ever feel that. I've never been in a situation where I was like, oh man, if only I had 8 witches. Like, usually, if you have 7 or 6 in your soul, that's plenty. That's more than enough. So, I don't see the reason yet to change. But yeah, it is something to test about. It has never bricked my hand. It has never been like, oh man, if only I had more of them, or if only this was another card. So I'm kind of happy with the way it is right now. This one is just a mini G-Guard. I've also used her in the tournament to reset the Revelation skill. And or to get a WiseMan back to the hand. Things like that. She's a nice little utility. And she actually stays as a booster, which is also nice.
Right. The trigger lineup. Before we go to these traits.
Now, the reason that D-Boy says trigger lineup is because there are no other grade zeros in my deck that triggers.
Yeah, so before you guys go and say, oh, you play 51 cards, no, he doesn't play 51 cards.
No, I do not play 51 cards.
Somebody else would like to play 51 cards.
Yeah, someone does. I just play the stand trigger as my starter. I started doing that all the way back in Keulen. And it surprised my opponents there. It worked consistently there, and I never felt the reason to change it. So Here we are. So, we run 4 of the new vanilla 10k power crits. Simple reason is because we run Himiko, and they're 10k crits. The Himiko reason is because Himiko lets a trigger go off equal to the amount of your opponent's grade. So this one will give 30k power, where this one will give 15. So that's the difference. Why did I keep this one in? Well, because of the new witches, and because witches are still good, and this one can still soul fix. I have been debating between cutting some of these for more of these, but I felt that with the way the deck works and the amount of charging you already do, and the power that you can get on a WiseMan, this will usually be in your soul when Himiko goes off, and if you have to do this, it's alright. I picked the old heals. I've been debating to go for the G-Guard heals, the double rares that we have.
Soul charge,
2 and 2. It's not a bad idea, and I've been debating it a lot. I didn't do it even before the tournament because I didn't have, well, I don't want to say time to test it. I just
remember, guys, that we are still in a format that there are a lot of rush decks, and sometimes guarding with the heal, like the 20k early game, could save you 2 cards from your hand, and you not really need the G-Guards. They are good, like the Iris and her big sister are good to just give you cards from the drop zone back to your soul. But sometimes it's necessary to have the right amount of shield in your hand to, let's say, guard early game, because you really don't want to lose your combo pieces, but sometimes guarding with her and then she guards her back to the soul works as well. So just don't do that against decks that could bind from the drop zone or something.
so
Be smart about it, but it really doesn't matter. Guarding with this, keeping this in hand is good, but sometimes keeping this in hand and then using your grade 2 to put her to your soul works as well. So
yeah, like D-Boy said, the 20k cards. Rush is actually one of the biggest weaknesses of this deck. You will kill any deck past turn 5. That's just how it works. So you want to make sure you survive, and the 20k extra shield is pretty nice to do that, because it gives you 10k extra shield over a normal heal. So that's why I would never put in 4 of the old heals, 2 maybe, but I think this will suffice.
yeah.
And then last but not least, we have the most important of all the triggers, and probably the most important card in the entire deck, Taro. Taro's skill is very simple for those who don't know. When she gets soul blasted, she goes back into the bottom of the deck and she restands a unit, and that's where the whole combo comes from. She's my starter. She's my main resource. I count Taros to know when I have won the game.
Actually, it's okay to have her in hand. You want her in soul, but it's okay to have her in hand and drop. When she end up in the damage, you want to be smart about being at more damage than your opponent, so you could heal her to the drop zone, even if she's face up, doesn't matter, heal her to the drop zone, soul charge her back with a G-Guardian, and then she stays in the soul. And by having like 3 or 4 copies in her with some witches, you could already make the loop. If you guys don't know, this was actually before we go to the strides, we can show you like a small, let's say, example of how the loop works. We will not go too deep into it, but let's just say how you could, when you have like a small or little amount of cards left in your deck, you could make the loop. And you could do that with the Himiko or on any stride, which actually doesn't really
It really does not matter. So for now, we'll put Himiko as the Vanguard. We'll put WiseMan as her rear guard. And we'll put this into the soul, and we'll put this into the soul. And we have this here. Now, we'll put 2 more, because we don't want to deck out. Right, so, imagine the situation.
This is pretty much your deck.
This is pretty much the deck.
So you already have used this stance multiple times to...
Would be more like this.
Yeah.
To be realistic.
So you already have the stands in your deck, and you end up with the last stand and some extra cards and some witches.
So at this point, WiseMan has already attacked multiple times.
Yeah.
And Himiko has already attacked, and WiseMan initiates his attack. At the point he initiates his attack, his skill triggers.
I'll put the deck right.
He gets Soul Blast free. We Soul Blast these 3 cards. First we Soul Blast her, then we Soul Blast her, then we Soul Blast her. His skill, he gains 4,000 extra power, but that's not what we're here for. Next, all these card skills will activate. First, Taro. Taro's skill says WiseMan, at the end of the battle, you restand.
Oh, before the end of the battle. He restands right away.
And he stands again. Taro goes back into the deck. Here's the deck. Next up, we have 2 witches. Skill. Soul charge the 2 top cards of your deck. Skill. Soul charge the 2 top cards of your deck. And with this, WiseMan can attack again.
Yeah, and with having multiple cards in your soul, you could do that. But the witches, what they does is you soul blast them and you soul charge the stands, and you keep doing that. And by having 3 stands, you could make the loop actually, because you could soul blast 1 witch, and then with that you could put the stands back.
We would have ultimately, if we could have, we would have soul blasted this one instead of this one, and then we could have done it again and again.
Yeah.
Each witch basically extends. Like, you will never have only Taros in your soul. This is just an example. You'll always have more fodder.
Pretty much, if you want to count the attacks, every stand is an attack, and every witch is actually 2 attacks.
Yes.
Depend on how many cards you have left in your deck. But
Once you see the very first Taro getting soul charge after a restand, that's when you can start seeing every witch as 2 attacks.
Yeah.
And that's when the deck enters its lethal phase. There's almost no deck in the game that can survive that once you reach that point.
Even without doing the loop, still by having 4 stand triggers in your soul and having the combo with Himiko, your WiseMan will attack 5 times, and every attack has at least 4 crits, right? Or he does 4 damage.
4 damage per hit, so...
Yeah, so if your opponent's at 2 damage, he has to guard all the 5 attacks, and it's a huge attack. So without...
Usually you're at more damage than your opponent, so you're trying to heal 4-5, so he can't heal, and then each attack is lethal.
Yeah.
He has to miracle heal that.
That's actually the combo.
But
Then
that
we
is-
could go
that's
to the strides, because this is where the deck does not need that much cards. It
No.
needs some G-Guardians, and with the premium collection, which we will also have right here, we'll do an opening later on today.
We will actually start
case.
with the strides that matter, then the strides that are situational, and then the strides that are just there because we have the space and we can use them.
Yeah, really, you can.
Yeah, you can, but the very first one and the most important of all the strides is the main boy, Fenrir. Fenrir stride allows you each counter blast equals more soul charge, and this guard sets up combos. This is the card that makes sure that you never want to put Genesis at 5 damage. Never. Because if you have 5 open counter blasts and this guy's here, you can guarantee that your loop will go off. Because you will go through the entire deck. You have a Vanguard named Fenrir, so Galgia's full effect applies. He has a skill that me and Idris like to call Super Revelation, which supercharges the keyword Revelation into a much more powerful version in which you get to check the top 2. And basically this is the main stride. You usually win on this, or you set up to win the next turn.
Pretty much he punish every opponent that give you too much damage.
Yeah. And the frustrating thing about the WiseMan loop is it doesn't matter if you give your opponent, if you keep me at 0 or if you give me 5. It doesn't matter. Well, the 5 is just a punishing, but the 0 gets punished as much because you can't kill me either, and I can take it slow. The deck doesn't need counterblasts. Next up, we actually have the other main guards, which are the G guards, and then we'll go to the other strides. Why I skip most of my strides is because these 2 are actually more important than the other strides I have here. She fixes 3 cards from your drop zone without restriction. She has more shield value, but is more specific about the cards she can pick. She picks 1 of each grade. And if you get 0 to 3, she is the best G-Guard. If you have like a Taro, a Witch, and a WiseMan, but the grade 3 never matters, then she's the best pick. If you have 3 of the same cards, or 2 of the same cards and 1 different one that you really want in your soul, you go to the Iris. You don't G-Guard for the value as much as you G-Guard for the effect. All right, then we have our usual first strike suspects. These are here because they're just the best first strides at the moment. This is my preferred one. This is another option, and the final option for first stride would be the old one. All right, so let me explain. This one has a revelation keyword, which means the moment you place her, you get to check the top card of your deck. And
Top check.
Her skill is Counterblast 1 and then Soul Charge 3. In each unit with Revelation, an opponent has to retire a card. That's why she's here. Because with Fenrir, that's 7 Soul Charges. That's good. This one is if you need to give power, or you really need to counter charge or draw. When she Soul Blasts, for each card she Soul Blasts, she gets to give away 2,000 power to a rear card. If she Soul Blasted 4 or more cards, you get to either draw or counter charge. She's also like she requires a persona flip. She's can flip anything, so she's also situational. This one is a good card if you've seen many of your triggers in your hand. He says Soul Blast 3, and you get to check the top card of your deck, put it on top or bottom, and each time you reveal a drive check that's not a trigger, Soul Charge 3. He can Soul Charge up to 9, which is amazing, but you need 3 non-triggers, and she already does 7 with a trigger. So I'm more of a fan of her than
it's guaranteed. So with him, you're taking a gamble.
Yeah. So of course, if you don't have the counterblasts and you really need the soul fix, you still have him. That's mostly the reason he's still here, and he will remain here.
It's a one-off, and he's good.
He doesn't flip anything. He doesn't. You don't really need to flip with Genesis. All you need is GB1, so that's okay. Just he's there in case it's needed.
We don't have any GB2 skills, right?
Vanguard has a GB2 skill, and Fenrir has a GB2 skill.
Yeah, but they always come as a second stride, so you do get the GB2 skill off even if you go to
tier and even if
stride.
you don't get his GB2 skill, that's the revelation one I was talking about. It doesn't matter. It's not the important one. This is the one that matters.
Yeah.
Next up.
Okay, then the big question, because a lot of you guys actually asked why she is in here.
Here is Minerva.
My question is still why she's not SP, because you have the SP one.
I do have the SP, it's in my binder, yes. Then there's 2 Vanguarders.
Happy to see you.
And I'm never gonna reach that, but she's still there. That being said, one of these cards was not in the build that you guys saw online because there was an Ultima that I borrowed.
Alright.
And I'm pretty sure he was in the place of a Muspel or I'm not even sure anymore.
Maybe the rare stride that could flip anything.
Yeah, the Muspel. She
Yeah.
probably instead of one plays of Muspel. That
Right.
sounds about right.
Okay. She
I
is really
love
good.
this card.
But you don't really get into her in this fast meta. But if you do, she's very
It used
strong.
to be my build to have her and then have 2
And you have this
puppies,
space.
and I had space. I had a different deck at that time, and she was my main win condition for a long time.
Yeah.
I can actually maybe revisit that deck one day.
Why not?
I would
Remake
like
it.
to. I would love to actually, because that was the most fun I had.
This is a very good card. You don't really need it, but sometimes it's good because sometimes you end up in a strange situation in a game where you have to go into stride and you can't really kill your opponent. Then you could do something like this.
His strongest skill is. You could argue it's that he manipulates the deck. It's that you can argue you manipulate your next turn. I think his strongest skill is the psychological effect he has on the opponent. You can really mindfuck your opponent and let them make mistakes they would otherwise not make just because you're bluff. You can bluff. You can just put 3 completely useless cards on top and then put it down. Because the way he works is that you have to do the skill before they guard. So you can just trick them. And that's what I really like. You can just make them forgo their entire game plan by another turn.
Also,
But, yeah.
guys, if you play this card, please read it correctly because a lot of people make mistakes when his skill goes off. So before you make mistakes with that, because if you use his skill after they guard, then you're already kind of cheating because then your opponent does not know. So
Alright.
remember, read it correctly.
And then now the question that's on everybody's mind. Why, oh why, is Minerva here? What kind of diabolical strategy hides behind this card? Well, I forgot to take her out.
Everybody
Thank
was
you.
asking on
Thank
Facebook,
you.
why is she in here? Why is she
Alright,
in here?
so,
And I
fun
asked him,
story.
Why is she in here? I said, I kind of forgot to take her out.
This is why Genesis has like no problem with the G zone, because this was here and it did not hurt me at all. It's a flip target. And then if I want to and I'm trolling my opponent, I strike to it. Sure, it doesn't do anything, but it's a pretty card. Now, the reason she's here is because my original build was gonna be a Minerva dash WiseMan combination, a Regalia Minerva build. We never got to profile that because I never got to test that anywhere else but few private matches. I never got to take that to the tournament. I wanted to, but at the time I had personal issues and I missed out on this spring tournaments last year. I didn't go to any of them. And that was when that deck was supposed to be made. And it had a very cool Minerva combo using the Regalia cards and WiseMan. Sounds illogical, but it actually worked pretty well. It had a huge early aggression and it would always push my opponent to 5 damage.
The deck is pretty much known. A lot of Minerva slash Regalia build were seen actually. We had different combinations. We had a combination with the WiseMan, we had a combination with... Because Regalia on itself was also a very strong build back in the days. So, and in my opinion, it's good to have Minerva in here because sometimes when you flip her as a flip target, because your opponent would think you play 3 copies of her, and having a restander that strong, meaning your opponent would sometimes keep guard in their hand and take maybe even damage early on. So it does work, but actually you would definitely take her out to put some uglier strat from the premium collection.
She's gonna be replaced for Amaruta, sadly. She will see a new build, especially now we've seen Narukami getting Eradicator cards. I have very high hopes that the next Genesis set is gonna contain Regalia cards. And that's when she gets another chance to shine. Regalia was suddenly robbed of their chance to shine. They were released the same set that all the other Giza cards were released, and Genesis did just not have the greatest match with Giza, especially not Regalia, and they kind of lost their chance. I still really like the Regalia deck. I still have it, fully built. It's still one of my favorites. And I am going to build Regalia Premium as soon as my prediction comes true and Regalia gets their V support.
Right, that was actually it for the deck profile.
Yeah.
So we'd like to thank you guys for all the love and the support, and
thanks, guys.
until next time.
And sorry about the Minerva disappointment.